Hello and welcome to the channel. Stupid here, and today we're going to take a look at some Elestrals gameplay from our locals that we held. We've got Dan on the left and Justin on the right. Dan is going to start things off with an Ash Rabbit, looking at the top 3 cards of their deck, choosing one and putting the rest back in and shuffling it. Honestly, Rabbit is probably just like the best Elestral in general. The 5 defense is a massive hurdle with less removal in the game, the ability to like tutor cards and be selective about it. We're going to see Dan set a couple runes down as well, and then looks like it's just going to be a pass over to Justin. In this event, we did allow the October Shattered Stars cards to be illegal a little bit early because this was a casual first-time event at the store. We're going to see Justin play Eddie. Dan's going to take a look at Eddie and see that when it is cast, it can switch the position of an Elestral on the board. Going to shake that Ash Rabbit right to attack position. And then it looks like we're going to see Justin declare an attack with Eddie into the Rabbit. Dan is contemplating what to do here. Going to go ahead and just let the Rabbit die. And we see Dan draw another Rabbit for turn. Also has Demeter and Elechick in hand already. Goes for the Thunder Spirit. Here is the next Rabbit. Going for the effect again. I see another Elechick, another Rabbit, and a Demeter. Just kind of like clumping right here, unfortunately. Smaller decks compared to other games, and playing 3 copies of a card does make it more likely that you will see those 3 ofs a lot more often, but it does help with consistency in deck building. Looks like it took a Rabbit from the Rabbit, pulling a Rabbit out of the Rabbit's hat. And I think we're just going to see a pass back over to Justin. I see Kurabyss in hand, PTA being set as well. Justin is on Drakking as well in this list. There's a second Edward in hand, but we're just going to go ahead and see the Ascension into the Kurabyss. And Dan's probably going to have a response here to deal with this 9 attack monster. Oh, he's got the Shield of Achilles. Gonna have to pay 1 for the cost and then another 1 for the expansion. He needs to spend 1 more. There we go. 3 for the cost of the Elestral. Total on that shield. Bounces it back to Justin's hand. Kind of removes the threat from the board. Gonna see an Earth Spirit hit for a Viscerus on Dan's side. And Justin responds with the PTA, the Poison Tipped Arrow. Cost 1, its attack is reduced by 2. And at the end phase, he can expend 1 to yeet it. We see the attack through, or he already just prematurely paid the expansion here. And 2 away. And then we're going to see the PTA go. And yeah, it looks like he just early paid out. Definitely be careful with something like that. If you pay that Spirit out a little too early, then it is a little bit rough. Say, for example, like a card effect triggers an Ascension or whatever, then you can just kind of recur that with Spirit back. See the first Ambrosia of this game here on Justin's side, healing back a couple Spirits. Casting 1 for an Eddie with no effect. Definitely don't want to put the Rabbit back in defense. And Eddie's just going to go ahead and attack over the Rabbit here. And Dan's got another Rabbit, an Elechick, and I think a PTA in hand. And here we go. 3rd Rabbit. 3rd time's a charm. Rabbit's going to hit with the PTA. Dan will still get the effect off. It does not negate the Rabbit's effect. There's the Demeter, an Ambrosia, and a PTA. Already having a PTA in hand. Definitely getting the Ambrosia back to recur. Feels a little bit better for Dan here. I think we are going to see the Ambrosia get played using a Water Spirit. I'm going to go ahead and recur a couple here. Looks like 2 Earth, 3 Earth going back into the Spirit deck. And then I think we're going to see that PTA get set. Oh no, just a pass. He's paying out the PTA here as well for the Rabbit. And unable to keep an Elestral on the board. It's not looking too great for Dan. Justin just ascends back into the Kurabyss. And Dan's got a PTA and a Gorgon's Gaze, but just decides to take the 2 here. I feel like using the Gorgons to just take the 2 anyways would feel bad. It's just the same amount of spirits. He's got Elechick and double Demeter in hand, but he just goes for the expend the draw. Finds an Altar of Stars, which is really good as a Nexus bank option here. If he plays the Demeter down at least, but just decides to pass. I think he's just going to take another 2 to the face here. I would have honestly preferred to just not expend the draw, play the Elechick down, grab a Demeter, play Demeter, double pump the Elechick, and run over the Kurabyss. That would have been a pretty expensive option, but it is what it is. And we're going to see a Tadpuff hit the board now on Justin's side. Going to be able to poke for 3 total here. Dan is just going to lose a lot of spirits across the board. 3 Earth hitting the Underworld. There's a Tsunami, which isn't very beneficial here, considering that all of Justin's Elestrals are all water enchanted. It's not going to do anything here. It might save them from taking damage. There's a way like they could cast the Elechick, run over the Tadpuff, remove it from the board, and then when Kurabyss attacks, you could use the Tsunami to switch your own Elechick back to defense and take a spirit less than you would have originally. Just going to see another pass. It's got PTA, Gorgons, Altar of Stars, and Justin's going to start off here for the turn with a Nectar of the Gods, drawing 2 cards. Looks like a Spectress in hand. Dan's got to be low on spirits here. I think Justin's down to 7 or 8 from what I can tell. Has another Eddy in hand. Doesn't really need to play anything like that right now. A lot of thinking going on here. Coming down to the wire. We see a water into the Ascension onto the Tadpuff, or... Oh, he's just going to re-enchant the Tadpuff for the turn and then use the Kurabyss's effect to disenchant from the Tadpuff to pop a card. And we see Gorgons being chained to negate the effect, prevent Kurabyss from attacking. So in this case, I mean, it's fine. He would have taken 2 anyways and lost a card, so I guess protecting that card is a great choice. Equilinx in hand. I see Demeter. So there are lines of play, just they're not super efficient choices here. Handful of spirits left. Equilinx could come into play with a Demeter, potentially pop that back row on Justin's side, and again, maybe replace one of these set cards for the second Demeter. Also, I do believe Dan has Altar of Stars, so there is that choice as well. So we can see the Demeter here with 2 down. Go for the Equilinx effect. Pop the back row. Use Altar. Move it off. Move that last one off of the Demeter. Switch the Kurabyss. Swing over it. That's one of my favorite things about playing Elestrals is that like your turns feel so open-ended with like there's so many different interactions and ways you can sequence your turn out to be able to do similar things, and just trying to find the most spirit efficient manner of doing it is honestly very fun and very rewarding. All right, we're seeing some numbers being crunched. The magical finger shakes. He's going to go for the Equilinx effect. Nexus off the Demeter. Pop the back row. And Justin responds with a Tsunami, which is unfortunate considering that Equilinx was just cast this turn. And maybe a pass from here. I mean, he does have Altar of Stars set still. So you could alter Move one back to the Demeter. Then use the Demeter to pump the Aqualinks. Play the second Demeter since the altar is gone. Pump again and run over the Kurabyss. And that could have been a big tempo changer. But we just see a Spectress now, which the Tsunami would have worked for as well. He would have had a bench, a rune space available for it as well. And then just he's got the shield, but he's going to have to expend 3 instead of taking the 2 here. Just one Spirit left on the Spirit deck and the Demeter, and it looks like a scoop. Yeah, I know, and it's a Thunder Spirit as well. So, all right. We are shuffled up and back for game 2. We'll see who's in the driver's seat in just a second here. It looks like the guys are contemplating if their hands are good, and it looks like Dan is off to the races with the turn 1 Ash Rabbit. Looking at the top 3, finds another rabbit. Looks like a Viscerus. I couldn't tell what the card they took was, but of course, just being able to generate more card advantage is really good here, especially when you start burning through some resources pretty quickly with things like Demeter and everything else. Being able to just get more cards that do more things always feels really good. See an Ambrosia, looks like a Gorgon's Gaze being set, Viscerus in hand, Mudlet. So good responsive cards for Dan for the following turns. So that Gorgon's Gaze has been set. We see Justin. Looks like they're going to start off with an Edward, the boy himself, coming into play. Gonna switch that rabbit into attack position, and this is where, if I were Dan, I'd hit it with the Gorgon's Gaze. Lock that Edward up, and then, yeah, there it is. Edward is stone cold frozen. Justin sets 2 cards face down. Looks like in hand I see a Spectress and an Ambrosia for Justin. Dan draws a second Ambro. Has the Mudlet, aka Earth Edward. The Vis in there as well. Elechick would be pretty good also to grab Demeter. We're going to see the Earth Spirit plop down for the Vis. Is a 5 attack thanks to itself, and it's going to hit with the PTA, going down to a 3. Unfortunate there. Not much Dan can do here. I wouldn't be opposed to seeing Dan use the Ambro off the Vis and heal, but at the same time, like, he's also still forcing Justin to expend 1 at the end of the turn. And so if that play is made, then it does not happen. So Vis just goes down, and a pass from Dan here. So Justin's got a clear opening here with no back row. It looks like he just drew the Drakking off the top, so can just enchant and ascend Eddie into Drakking, attack over the rabbit, take control of it, and then just kind of like start snowballing the game here. Oh, decides to go for the expend to draw. Finds a rock in a hard place. I see Tadpuff in hand as well. I feel like ascending into the Drakking would have been the correct line of play here. I mean, Dan's got no back row. You take that rabbit. You've got 7 attack on the Drakking. I believe Justin also does play a single Thunder Spirit for the situation of, like, on the next turn re-enchanting the rabbit and being able to get a card into their hand. Still 1 back row though. Dan does throw down an Earth Spirit for the Moss Station. 6 attack currently here on this big Chungus crab. So it can run over the Edward unless Justin's set card is like a shield or whatever. And then at the end of the turn, the Moss Station will switch to defense position. Rabbit switching to attack. Dan going in for the greed, and the Tsunami just switches them both back to defense. And then it's now going to be in Justin's control for the turn here. Rockin' Hard Place doesn't do anything, and draws another Tsunami, keeping Dan potentially on his toes. Is it time to Drakking take control of the station? We see one card set. And here is a Owloon for the Spectress, which can actually get over the Moss Station, but that rabbit's still going to be there. Dan does draw for turn, finds a PTA, so we'll have a little bit of a response here in the future. Mudlet could come into play and handle either one of these two Elestrals by switching them to defense. The Mudlet could switch Eddie or the Spectress here. We'll see what Dan decides. I think either is honestly a fine line of play. They both ascend into whatever, but I think just ultimately the Spectress just becomes a little bit more problematic into things like this, where it just suppresses. So getting rid of the Spectress feels a little bit better ultimately, since it's effectively a 5 attack stat. Gonna see the rabbit get switched to attack position as well. And Dan is now learning about the damage and how that works. So good on Justin for letting him put that back into defense position. This was Dan's first time playing, and I believe he did pretty dang good for his first day fully playing Elestrals in a tournament scenario. I want to see the Mudlet poke over the Vis, and then a pass over to Justin, and another Drakking in hand. Is it time to see the king himself? No, it's the Drak Kid being plopped down onto the board. It's going to let you swap the attack stat with it, with another Elestral on the field. And then we see the rock in the hard place. This is where things are going to get a little bit stupid. He's going to choose the Eddie or the back row card. Or I'm sorry, the Mudlet or the back row card. In this case, I mean, Mudlet is just Earth Eddie, like I said earlier anyways. So Mudlet goes down. Back row stays, and then now both of these punks can be ascended into their next forms. We're gonna have Drakking and Kurabyss on the board at the same time from one single rock in a hard place. So there's the Drakking, here's the Kurabyss. He's got to add a spirit to both of these for the special ascension. And now this is where the pressure honestly just kind of like goes turbo. Kurabyss could pop the back row, and then Drakking is clean to get in there. We see the Ambro healing 1 lunar and 2 water. Put in the back into the spirit deck. Had a couple cards in hand. Looks like no more runes. Drakking will go ahead and take out the rabbit. And then he's like, I'll take that. Rabbit is now being cast with a lunar or a water spirit, thanks to the effect of Drakking, which now cannot be attacked at all. And then Kurabyss gets in here for 2 spirits of damage. And now, I mean, there's not a lot going on. At least Dan has double Ambro to be able to heal up. We're going to see that Thunder Spirit go. And then we're going to see 3 Earth come back. And then, is he going to play the second Ambrosia? It's a lot of spirits on board for Justin. Potentially a 6 spirit swing. You could also play the Elechic here. Oh, it goes for the expend the draw. Finds a Moss Station. And then he's gonna play the second Ambro, healing 3 more spirits, giving him a little bit more life here. And then just has the Moss Station and the Elechic in hand. I mean, I would have potentially seen. I would have liked to see the Elechic come into play, grab the Demeter, and then maybe trade with the Drakking. But then again, he would still get the capture off of it too. He could have ran over the rabbit, but then now, I mean, Justin just decided to re-enchant the rabbit, triggering its effect, being able to get a card. put it into their hand off the top 3. You see the deck get shuffled. It looks like he found a PTA. We're going to see that be set. Rabbit gets switched to attack, and then 6 spirits of damage potentially here. Dan's going to go ahead and take 2, 4, and 6, it looks like. Or on the Drakking, we've got the Shield of Achilles. He's got to expend 1 more there. But I don't think it ultimately mattered here. Again, these games were recorded, so couldn't ultimately interject with casting here. I see 1 spear hit the board here for the Moss Station. And 1, 2, 3 for the Demeter. Can get the pump. Can put it up to 9. Which will allow a trade with the Kurabyss. He would still take a Spirit of Damage. Oh, but he's got the Tsunami. Switches the station back to defense position. And it's not looking too hot here. Now, if Justin ultimately wanted to, they could just ascend the Astrabbit into a 3-spirit Drakking. I see Tadpuff and maybe a Spectress in hand as well. Re-enchanting on to the Kurabyss return. Disenchanting 1 from the Astrabbit, 1 from the Kurabyss to go ahead and pop the Demeter. And then it looked like he healed from that as well. And then just a couple spirits of damage left in there. Dan's got an Elechick and a Gorgon's Gaze off the top of the deck. It looks like just 1 or 2 spirits left in the deck. And then a scoop. Justin takes his game with Drakking 2-0 over Dan's Earth Nexus deck. I hope you enjoyed the content. If you're new here, please take a moment to subscribe to the channel. There will be a lot more Elestrals content on the way, especially when Clash comes out. I'm super excited to be able to play the sim all the time with streams and deck profiles and whatever else we may end up doing. Take a moment, smash the like button, comment down below what you thought of this game and what matchups you want to see in the future from us here on the channel. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Much love and peace.